The red dust of Kepler 442b swirled around Lieutenant Commander Kang Dae-ho's boots as he stepped out of the landing craft. The dead mining planet stretched before him like a broken promise. Empty buildings stood like broken teeth against the orange sky. Nothing moved except the wind. "Stay close," Dae-ho said into his radio. "We don't know what's out here." Sergeant Park Ji-won emerged from behind a rusted mining truck. His rifle was ready. "Sir, the scanners show wreckage about 2 clicks north. It's fresh." Private Lee Hyun-woo jogged up to them. His young face looked nervous under his helmet. "Commander, should we call for backup? What if it's a trap?" Dae-ho checked his weapon. 3 years of war had taught him to trust his gut. Something felt different about this place. The usual signs of Velthron occupation were missing. No energy signatures, no patrol patterns, just silence. "We investigate first," he said. "If it's what I think it is, backup won't help anyway." They moved through the abandoned mining complex. Their boots crunched on broken glass and metal debris. The war had reached even this forgotten corner of space. Burned-out vehicles and collapsed buildings told the story of a quick evacuation. The wreckage came into view after 20 minutes of walking. A Velthran scout ship had crashed into the side of a processing facility. The metal hull was twisted and burned. Steam still rose from parts of the engine. "It's recent," Ji-won said. "Maybe 12 hours." Dae-ho studied the crash site. The ship had come down hard. Whatever happened, the crew probably didn't survive, but they had to check. Intelligence about Velthran technology was too valuable to ignore. "Hyun-woo, watch our backs. Ji-won, you're with me." They approached the wreckage carefully. The ship's main door had been torn open during the crash. Inside, emergency lights flickered red. The air smelled of burned electronics and something else. Something organic. The first body lay near the cockpit. The Velthron pilot was clearly dead. His gray skin had turned darker. His large eyes were closed forever. The second body was in the passenger area. A female, Dae-ho thought, though it was hard to tell with their species. "Looks like a family unit," Ji-won said quietly. "Probably trying to escape the fighting." Dae-ho nodded. Even enemies had families. The thought made him uncomfortable. He had orders to eliminate any Velthran survivors, but dead civilians sat differently in his stomach. A soft sound made them both freeze. It came from the back of the ship. Not mechanical. Something alive. They moved deeper into the wreckage. The sound came again. A weak crying noise, like a human baby, but different. In a small sleeping area, they found it. A tiny Velthron infant lay in what looked like a makeshift bed. It was barely the size of a human newborn. Its skin was pale gray, almost white. When it saw them, it stopped crying. The baby's eyes were huge and dark. They seemed to look right into Dae-ho's soul. There was intelligence there. Understanding. The infant knew its parents were gone. It knew it was alone. "Orders are clear, sir," Ji-won said. His voice was tight. "No survivors." Dae-ho stared at the tiny creature. It made another soft sound. Not crying now, almost like it was trying to communicate. One small hand reached toward him. "It's just a baby," Dae-ho whispered. "It's a Velthran baby," Ji-won replied. "They grow up to be soldiers. They grow up to kill humans." The infant's hand touched Dae-ho's glove. Its skin was warm. The eyes never left his face. In those dark depths, he saw something he hadn't expected. Trust. The baby somehow knew he wouldn't hurt it. Hyun-woo's voice crackled over the radio. "Commander, we need to move. My scanners are picking up energy signatures. Something's coming." Dae-ho's training said to follow orders. His survival instincts said to run. But something deeper, something human, made him reach for the infant instead. "What are you doing?" Ji-won grabbed his arm. "I can't leave it here to die." "Sir, think about this. If Command finds out, then they won't find out." Dae-ho gently lifted the baby. It was lighter than he expected. Fragile. Get me something to carry it in. Ji-won stared at him. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But I'm making it anyway. They found a supply pouch in the wreckage. Dae-ho carefully placed the infant inside. It seemed to understand and stayed quiet. Those intelligent eyes watched everything. Commander! Hyun-woo's voice was urgent now. 3 Velthron fighters incoming! We need to go now! They ran. Through the mining complex, over broken ground, toward their ship. Behind them, the whine of alien engines grew louder. Dae-ho held the pouch close to his chest. Inside, the baby stayed perfectly still. Their pilot had the engines running when they reached the landing craft. Get us out of here! Dae-ho shouted. The ship lifted off just as the first Velthron fighter appeared over the ridge. Laser fire lit up the ground where they had been standing seconds before. As they climbed toward space, Dae-ho looked down at the pouch. The baby was looking back at him. Still calm, still trusting. He had no idea what he was going to do with an alien infant. He had no idea how to keep it secret from his crew. He had no idea if it would even survive. But as those dark eyes met his, Dae-ho knew he had made the right choice. In a war that had consumed planets and killed millions, one small act of mercy felt like the most important thing he had ever done. The infant made a soft, cooing sound, almost like it was saying thank you. What do we do now, sir? Ji-won asked quietly. Dae-ho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, fleets of human and Velthran ships were fighting and dying. The war continued, but in his hands, something new had begun. Now we figure out how to keep a secret, he said. A very important secret. The baby's hand found his finger through the pouch material. Its grip was surprisingly strong, like it understood that this human was now its whole world. Dae-ho had made his choice. There was no going back. For better or worse, he was now the protector of his enemy's child. The thought should have terrified him. Instead, it gave him hope. Titan Station buzzed with activity as Dae-ho's ship docked. The massive space station served as humanity's forward base in the outer system. Thousands of soldiers and support staff worked around the clock to keep the war effort running. Dae-ho walked through the corridors with the supply pouch pressed against his chest. Inside, the alien baby stayed perfectly quiet. It seemed to understand that silence meant safety. Commander, Ji-won whispered as they passed a group of Marines. How long can we keep this up? Long enough, Dae-ho replied, though he wasn't sure what that meant. His quarters were small but private. As soon as the door closed, he carefully opened the pouch. The baby looked up at him with those large, dark eyes. It had grown slightly during the trip. Its features were more defined now. What am I going to do with you? He whispered. The infant made a soft sound. Not crying. Almost like it was trying to answer him. One small hand reached up toward his face. Dae-ho needed help. The baby would need food, medical care, and someone who understood alien biology. There was only one person on the station he could trust with this secret. Dr. Kim So-jin ran the station's medical bay. She was also the only xenobiologist in the human fleet. More importantly, she was someone Dae-ho had served with for 2 years. Someone he trusted. Finding her alone took 3 hours of waiting. When the medical bay finally emptied, Dae-ho slipped inside with his hidden cargo. Dae-ho? So-jin looked surprised. What brings you to medical? Are you hurt? I need your help, he said quietly. And I need you to promise not to report this. Her expression grew serious. That depends on what this is about. Dae-ho opened the pouch. So-jin's eyes widened as she saw the alien infant. Dear God, she breathed. Is that what I think it is? Velthron baby? I found it in a crashed ship. Its parents were dead. So-jin stepped closer. The baby looked at her with curious eyes. You should have left it there. You should have followed orders. I couldn't. Daeho's voice was firm. Look at it, really look. The doctor studied the infant carefully. As she leaned closer, the baby made a soft cooing sound. Its hand reached toward her face. When she didn't pull away, tiny fingers touched her cheek. Something changed in So-jin's expression. It's trying to communicate, she whispered. I can feel something. Like it's reading my emotions. You feel it too? This is impossible. Veltrons don't develop empathic abilities until adulthood. She lifted the baby carefully. It settled into her arms like it belonged there. This one is different. Over the next few days, they worked together to care for the infant. So-jin set up a hidden area in her lab where they could monitor the baby's growth. What they discovered amazed them, both. The baby grew faster than any human child. In 1 week, it doubled in size. Its motor skills developed at an incredible rate. By the 2nd week, it was sitting up on its own. By the 3rd week, it was walking. More surprising was its intelligence. The baby learned to recognize their voices immediately. It responded to simple commands. When Daeho spoke softly, it calmed down. When he smiled, it made happy sounds. I've never seen anything like this, So-jin said one evening. They were watching the baby play with a simple puzzle toy. It had figured out the solution in minutes. This level of development should be impossible. Daeho sat on the floor next to the baby. It immediately crawled into his lap, making content purring sounds. The trust between them had grown stronger each day. What should we call it? He asked. We can't keep calling it the baby. So-jin smiled. What were you thinking? Hope, Daeho said quietly. In all this darkness, it feels like hope. The baby looked up at him when he said the name. Its large eyes seemed to understand. It made a sound that almost sounded like hope back to him. Hope it is, So-jin agreed. But keeping hope secret grew harder each day. The baby needed more food as it grew. It needed space to move around. Most difficult of all, it seemed to react to the emotions of everyone around it. During a particularly stressful day in the medical bay, Hope became agitated. It cried loudly until So-jin brought it to the hidden area where Daeho was waiting. Only then did it calm down. It's bonded to you, So-jin observed. Completely. You're its parent now. The word hit Daeho harder than he expected. Parent. He had never thought of himself that way. But as Hope reached for him with complete trust, he realized it was true. This alien child had become his responsibility, his family. Outside their secret world, the war continued to rage. Reports came in daily of new battles, new casualties. Veltron forces had destroyed 3 more human colonies. The death count climbed higher every week. Sometimes Daeho wondered if he was betraying his own species. Every human soldier who died had family. People who loved them. Was he wrong to care for the child of humanity's enemies? But then Hope would look at him with those trusting eyes, and doubt faded. This wasn't the enemy. This was a child who had lost everything and chose to trust the first person who showed it kindness. By the 4th week, Hope was the size of a human toddler. It could walk steadily and had begun making more complex sounds. Some of them almost sounded like words. Day, it said one evening, pointing at him. Daeho's heart nearly stopped. Did it just... Its first word, So-jin smiled. Or close to one. Hope toddled over to Daeho and grabbed his hand. Day, it repeated, more clearly this time. That night, Daeho lay in his bunk thinking about the future. Hope was growing so fast. Soon it would be too big to hide, too intelligent to keep in the shadows. Other people would notice. Questions would be asked. But for now, in the quiet moments when Hope fell asleep in his arms, Daeho allowed himself to feel something he hadn't felt in years. peace. Despite the war raging around them, despite the danger of discovery, despite everything that could go wrong, he felt peace. Hope had given him something he didn't know he needed. A reason to fight that went beyond duty or revenge. A reason to believe that maybe, someday, this war could end differently than everyone expected. As Hope slept, making soft alien purring sounds, Daeho made a silent promise. Whatever happened, whatever the cost, he would protect this child. His child. The war could take everything else, but it wouldn't take Hope. Captain Oh Min-suk noticed things. It was what made him a good officer. Small details that others missed, changed patterns, unusual behavior, and lately, something was very wrong on Titan Station. Commander Kang has been acting strange, he told. His aide, Lieutenant Choi Un-ha. They stood in the observation deck watching the busy corridors below. Missing briefings, requesting extra medical supplies, spending too much time in the science labs. Un-ha followed his gaze. Maybe he's sick? The war has been hard on everyone. Maybe. Min-suk wasn't convinced. Run a check on all supply requests from his department. Cross-reference with Dr. Kim's medical requisitions. 3 months had passed since Hope came to the station. The alien child now looked like a human 5-year-old, though it had only been alive for 12 weeks. Its growth continued at an impossible rate. In Sojin's hidden lab, Hope played with a complex puzzle. Its small hands moved pieces with careful precision. When it finished, it looked up at Daeho with pride. "Good job," Daeho said, ruffling the soft hair on Hope's head. The child had developed a covering of fine, silver-white hair that felt almost human. Hope said clearly. It could now speak several dozen words. "Play more? Later. Right now you need to stay quiet. Remember what we talked about?" Hope nodded seriously. Stay hidden. Stay safe. The child understood danger better than most. Adults. It seemed to sense when strangers were near. During inspections or unexpected visits, Hope would hide without being asked. Its empathic abilities had grown stronger, too. It could feel people's emotions from several rooms away. "Someone's coming," Hope whispered suddenly. Its large eyes went wide with alarm. "Angry person. Very angry." Daeho quickly moved Hope to the hidden compartment Sojin had built. The child curled up inside without complaint. It had learned that hiding meant survival. Captain Min-suk entered the lab 5 minutes later. His face was stern. Behind him came 2 security officers, Dr. Kim, Commander Kang. His voice was cold. "We need to talk." Sojin's hands remained steady as she worked at her computer. "Of course, Captain. What can we help you with?" "Supply irregularities. Medical equipment going missing. Lab time being used without proper authorization." Min-suk's eyes swept the room. "Care to explain?" "I've been working on a classified project," Daeho said carefully. "Xenobiology research. Looking for weaknesses in Velthran physiology. What kind of research requires baby formula and children's vitamins?" The question hung in the air like a bomb. Daeho felt his heart racing. In the hidden compartment, Hope stayed perfectly silent. Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed. An automated voice filled the corridors. "All personnel to battle stations. Incoming hostile forces. This is not a drill." "We'll continue this later," Min-suk said grimly. "All of us." The next hour was chaos. Velthran attack ships had appeared at the edge of the system. Long-range sensors showed 12 fighters and 2 heavy cruisers. It was the largest enemy force to threaten Titan Station directly. In the command center, Admiral Shin Kyung-min coordinated the defense. "Get me firing solutions on those cruisers. Deploy all fighter squadrons." Daeho stood at a tactical station. tracking enemy movements. The Veltron ships moved in perfect formation. Their attack patterns were more sophisticated than usual. "They're adapting," he muttered. "Learning our tactics." The first wave of human fighters engaged the enemy near. Saturn's rings. Laser fire lit up space like deadly fireworks. 2 human ships were destroyed immediately. The Veltrons seemed to anticipate every move. Down in the lab, Hope pressed its hands against the hidden compartment walls. The child's eyes glowed faintly. In the darkness, it could feel the fear and anger of every human on the station. The emotions were overwhelming. Suddenly, Hope made a decision that changed everything. The child reached out with its mind, searching for something familiar. In the enemy ships, it found Velthron thoughts, alien minds filled with duty and determination. But also fear. They were afraid, too. Without understanding exactly what it was doing, Hope began to bridge those minds. It shared what it had learned about humans, their capacity for kindness, their ability to care for others. It showed them memories of Daeho's gentleness, So-Jin's patience, even Ji-Won's reluctant acceptance. In the command center, something impossible happened. The station's weapons suddenly became more accurate. Targeting systems that had been good before became perfect. Energy output increased by levels that shouldn't have been possible. "What's happening?" Admiral Shin stared at his displays. "Our hit ratio just jumped to nearly 100%. Engineer Nam Tae-hyun checked his instruments frantically. "Sir, I'm reading massive power fluctuations throughout the station, but everything's working better than designed specs." The battle turned quickly after that. Human ships that should have been destroyed survived impossible odds. Weapons that should have missed found their targets perfectly. Within 30 minutes, the Veltran force was retreating. But the victory came with a cost. The mysterious power surge had been traced to the science labs, specifically to Dr. Kim's research area. Captain Min-suk arrived with a full security team. "Lock down this section. I want every inch searched." They found the hidden compartment within minutes. When the panel opened, Hope looked up at them with frightened but defiant eyes. The silence that followed was deafening. A dozen human soldiers stared at an alien child, the enemy, living among them, learning their secrets, growing stronger every day. "Dear God," Min-suk breathed. "What have you done?" Hope looked past the soldiers to find Daeho. When their eyes met, the child spoke clearly. "Dae, are you safe?" Even surrounded by weapons and angry faces, Hope's first concern was for the human who had saved it. Lieutenant Yunha lowered her rifle slightly. "It's just a child." "It's a Velthron spy," snapped Sergeant Park Ji-won, who had been called to identify the creature. "I told you this was a mistake, sir." But Engineer Nam stepped forward, his instruments still in hand. "Wait, look at these readings. The power surge came from this room, from that child. It somehow enhanced our entire defense grid." Colonel Yoon Jae-sung arrived with more troops. His face was hard as stone. "Secure the alien. Prepare it for interrogation." "No." Daeho stepped between them and Hope. "It's not a weapon. It's not a spy. It's a child who saved this station. A child that nearly got us all killed by hiding among us." Hope stood up in the compartment. Though small, it faced the armed humans without flinching. "I helped," it said simply. "I made the bad ships go away." The statement sent ripples through the room. This alien child had somehow interfered with the battle, enhanced human capabilities, changed the outcome of a fight that should have been lost. The question now was, what were they going to do about it? The interrogation room was cold and gray. Hope sat in a chair too big for its small frame, looking lost and afraid. Across the table, Colonel Yoon Jae-sung stared at the alien child with suspicious eyes. "What are you?" he asked bluntly. Hope's large dark eyes found Daeho, who stood against the wall with his hands tied. "I am Hope. Dae gave me that name." What are your people planning? Why were you really on that ship? I don't understand. Hope's voice was small and confused. My parents are dead. I only have Day now, Dr. So-Jin spoke from her corner of the room. Colonel, it's just a child. It doesn't know anything about military plans. Children don't enhance weapon systems, Jae-sung snapped. Children don't interface with technology they've never seen before. Admiral Shin entered the room, his face grave. We've analyzed the battle data. The child somehow connected our systems to something else. Our computers processed information they shouldn't have had access to. Hope looked around at all the angry faces. The child's empathic abilities were picking up waves of fear, distrust, and confusion. It began to cry quietly. Stop, Daeho said firmly. You're scaring it. Good. Maybe fear will make it talk. Intelligence Officer Lim Sung-ho pulled up a chair across from Hope. His approach was gentler. Hope, can you tell us what you did during the battle? How did you help the station? Hope wiped its eyes with small hands. The ships were coming to hurt you. I could feel everyone's fear. It made me sad. So what did you do? I reached out. To the ships. To the people inside them. Hope struggled to find the right words. They were scared too. They didn't want to fight. They were just following orders. Lim Ho leaned forward. You communicated with the enemy ships? I showed them that humans can be kind. I showed them Day taking care of me. So-Jin helping me. I wanted them to understand. The room fell, silent. The implications were staggering. This child had somehow communicated across space, ship to ship, mind to mind. That's impossible, Colonel Jae-sung said. Is it? Dr. So-Jin activated a wall screen. Look at Hope's brain scans. The neural development is unlike anything I've ever seen. The child processes information differently than normal Velthrons. The scans showed a brain structure that seemed to bridge different types of thinking. Areas that shouldn't connect were linked by unusual pathways. Hope isn't just a Velthron child, So-Jin continued. It's something new, something evolved. Over the next several hours, they learned more about Hope's abilities. The child could interface with any piece of technology simply by touching it. Complex systems became simple in its hands. It understood engineering principles that took humans years to learn, but more importantly, Hope carried memories that weren't its own. Tell us about your people, Lim Sung-ho said gently. What do you remember? Hope closed its eyes and concentrated. When it spoke again, its voice carried weight beyond its years. Long ago, our world was beautiful. Green skies and silver seas. Millions of Velthrons lived in peace. The child's expression grew sad. Then the star got sick. It grew bigger and hotter. The oceans boiled away. The cities burned. Your homeworld was destroyed. Yes, the ships that left carried everyone who survived. But there weren't enough ships. Many died. Hope opened its eyes and looked directly at the humans. We didn't want to take your worlds. We just needed somewhere to live. The revelation hit the room like a physical blow. The war everyone thought was about conquest was actually about survival. The Velthrons weren't invaders. They were refugees. Why didn't they try to communicate? Admiral Shin asked. Why attack instead of asking for help? Hope's small face scrunched in concentration. Fear. When the first ships met human ships, there were mistakes, misunderstandings. People died on both sides. After that, trust became impossible. Engineer Nam Tae-hyun spoke up from where he'd been quietly recording everything. The child is telling the truth. I've been analyzing its neural patterns during questioning. No deception markers at all. Even if that's true, Colonel Jae-sung said, it doesn't change the fact that they've killed thousands of humans. And humans have killed thousands of them, Hope replied simply. Both sides are afraid. Both sides are angry. But underneath, Everyone just wants to survive. Dr. So-Jin pulled up more data on her tablet. There's something else. Hope's genetic structure shows deliberate modifications. This child wasn't born naturally. It was designed. Designed for what? Communication? Bridge building? Look at these neural pathways. She highlighted sections of the brain scans. Hope can literally translate thoughts between species. It can make humans understand Veltran concepts, and vice versa. The implications sank in slowly. Hope wasn't just a random survivor. It was created, specifically to solve the problem between their species. My parents made me, Hope confirmed quietly. Many scientists worked together. They knew the war was wrong. They hoped I could help fix it. And they put you on that ship, why? To find humans who would listen. My parents said some humans might be kind enough to care for an enemy child. They were right. Hope looked at Dae-ho with complete trust. Dae chose to save me instead of leaving me to die. Lieutenant Yunha, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. If Hope can really communicate between our species, maybe we can end this war. Or maybe it's an elaborate trap, Colonel Jae-sung countered. Designed to make us lower our guard. Look at it, Dae-ho said angrily. Does that look like a weapon to you? Hope had curled up in the oversized chair, exhausted from the long interrogation. Despite being surrounded by potentially hostile strangers, the child had fallen asleep. Its small hand clutched a drawing it had made earlier, a picture of humans and Veltrons standing together under a peaceful sky. It's not a weapon, So-Jin said softly. It's hope. Exactly what Dae-ho named it. Admiral Shin looked at the sleeping child for a long moment. The question is, what do we do now? Our long-range sensors are showing massive Veltron fleet movements. Toward the Sol system, the final battle is coming. We have to try, Lim Sung-ho said. If there's even a chance this child can prevent mutual annihilation. And if we're wrong? If this is all an elaborate deception? Then we die fighting, same as we would anyway. Dae-ho's voice was firm, but at least we'll die knowing we tried for something better than endless war. Hope stirred in its sleep, making soft purring sounds. Even unconscious, its empathic abilities were trying to calm the emotional turmoil in the room. The adults stood around the sleeping child, each wrestling with an impossible decision. Trust the enemy's child with the fate of both species, or continue a war that would likely destroy them all. Outside the station's windows, the stars looked cold and distant. Somewhere among them, two fleets were preparing for the battle that would decide humanity's future. And in a small interrogation room, that future rested in the hands of one small alien child who just wanted both sides to understand each other. The war room buzzed with desperate activity. Holographic displays showed the approaching Veltron fleet, over 200 ships moving toward Earth's solar system. It was the largest force either side had assembled since the war began. Admiral Shin stood at the center of it all, his face grim. Estimated arrival time is 18 hours. Our combined fleet has 87 operational ships. The numbers were clear. Humanity was about to face complete annihilation. Dae-ho sat in his quarters with Hope, who now appeared to be about 7 years old despite being only 4 months alive. The alien child was drawing pictures again, always the same theme. Humans and Velthrans together in peace. The big ships are coming, Hope said without looking up from the drawing. So many scared thoughts. So much anger. Can you sense them from this far away? Hope nodded. They're not evil, Dae. They're just tired. Tired of running. Tired of fighting. They want it to be over. A knock at the door interrupted them. Admiral Shin entered with Dr. So-Jin and several senior officers. We need to discuss the situation, Shin said heavily. Hope, we need your help. The child looked up with those large, intelligent eyes. What can I do? The Velthran fleet will be here, soon. If we fight them, both sides will probably be destroyed. But you might be able to communicate with them, make them understand that we want peace." Hope was quiet for a long moment. "You want me to go to them?" "Yes, but it would be dangerous. They might not trust you. They might think you've been turned into a human weapon. Or they might listen," Lieutenant Yunha added hopefully. "You're one of their own. They might believe you." Hope set down the drawing tools and walked to the window. Outside, stars glittered in the endless darkness. Somewhere among them, the fate of two species was racing toward a decision point. "If I go to them, I might not come back," Hope said quietly. Day-hos. Heart clenched. "You don't have to do this. We can find another way." "What other way?" Hope turned to face him. "Fight until everyone dies? Let fear win?" The child walked over and took Day-ho's hand. "You saved me when you could have left me to die. You chose kindness over orders. Now I have to choose too." "Hope, you're just a child. This isn't your responsibility." "Yes, it is." Hope's voice carried surprising strength. "My parents made me for this purpose, to bridge the gap between our peoples. If I don't try, they died for nothing." Dr. Sojin knelt down to Hope's eye level. "If you do this, the strain might be enormous. Connecting that many minds across that much space, we don't know if your abilities can handle it." "I know," Hope said simply, "but I have to try." Colonel Jae-sung, who had been silent, stepped forward. "Even if the child succeeds in making contact, how do we know the Velthrans won't just destroy it? They might see it as a traitor." "Because they'll see what I've seen," Hope replied. "They'll understand that humans aren't monsters, that this war started from fear and misunderstanding, not hatred." Admiral Shin looked around the room at his officers. The weight of the decision was crushing. Send a child into deadly danger or watch both species destroy each other. "The choice has to be yours, Hope," he said finally. "We can't order you to do this. You're not a soldier." Hope looked at each person in the room. Fear, hope, desperation, and love mixed in their thoughts. The child's empathic abilities had grown so strong that human emotions felt as real as its own. "I'll do it," Hope said, "but I need something from each of you first." "What?" "Your best memories. Times when you were happy, when you felt love or kindness or hope." The child's eyes grew bright. "I want to show them who you really are underneath all the war and anger." For the next hour, each person in the room shared their most precious memories with Hope. Dae-ho thought of his sister's wedding, the joy on her face as she danced. So-jin remembered the first time she had helped heal someone, the satisfaction of saving a life. Even Colonel Jae-sung shared a memory of his daughter taking her first steps. Hope absorbed each memory like a sponge, storing them carefully in its remarkable mind. "Now I understand," the child said softly. "Now I know what I need to show them." The next few hours were spent preparing for the most dangerous diplomatic mission in human history. A small, fast ship was prepared for Hope's journey. It would carry the child to the edge of the Velthran fleet, where hopefully communication could begin. As the departure time approached, Dae-ho found himself alone with Hope one last time. "I'm scared," he admitted. "What if I never see you again?" Hope hugged him tightly. "You gave me life, Dae. You showed me that different species can love each other. No matter what happens, that will always be true. You're the bravest person I've ever known. I learned it from you." Hope pulled back to look at him. "Promise me something?" "Anything. If this works, if we make peace, don't let people forget how the war started. Make sure they remember that fear and misunderstanding caused all this pain, so it doesn't happen again." Dae-ho nodded, not trusting his voice. The hangar bay was crowded with people who had come to see Hope off. Engineers, doctors, soldiers, support staff. Word had spread throughout the station about the alien child who might save them all. As Hope walked toward the small ship, people reached out to touch the child's hand or shoulder. Good luck wishes. Blessings. Hope from creatures who had learned to love their former enemy's offspring. At the ship's door, Hope turned back one last time. "Thank you," it called out. "All of you, for showing me what kindness looks like." The ship launched into space, carrying humanity's hopes toward an uncertain fate. Daeho watched until it disappeared among the stars. "Think it will work?" Ji-won asked quietly. "It has to," Daeho replied, "because the alternative is unthinkable." On the bridge, Admiral Shin tracked the ship's progress toward the Veltron fleet. Long-range sensors showed the massive alien force still approaching Earth at full speed. 12 hours until contact, an officer reported. In 12 hours, they would know if one small alien child could accomplish what armies and diplomats had failed to do, end a war that had consumed the galaxy. In 12 hours, they would learn if Hope had chosen correctly, or if that choice would cost the child everything. Hope's small ship drifted toward the massive Veltron fleet like a tiny spark approaching a storm. The alien child sat calmly in the pilot's seat, hands resting on the communication controls. Through the viewports, hundreds of enemy warships filled the space ahead. The largest ship in the fleet was the Kethvar's flagship, a vessel the size of a small city. Its weapons could destroy entire planets. Right now, those weapons were pointed at Earth. "This is Veltron Command," a voice crackled over the radio in the alien language. "Identify yourself or be destroyed." Hope responded in perfect Veltron, though it had never spoken the language before. The genetic memories built into its mind provided everything it needed. "This is Hope. I am Velthera, child of the bridge builders. I request permission to board the flagship." Silence stretched for long minutes. Hope could feel the confusion and suspicion radiating from the fleet, a single small ship approaching their mighty force, a child's voice claiming impossible things. "You are human technology," came the suspicious reply. "A trick, a weapon." "I am what my parents made me to be," Hope responded calmly. "A bridge between our peoples. I carry proof that humans are not our true enemies." More silence. Then, "You will be taken aboard for examination. Any aggressive action will result in immediate destruction." 3 Veltron fighters surrounded Hope's ship and guided it into the flagship's hangar bay. The child walked out calmly, hands visible and empty. A squad of armed Veltran soldiers waited. Hope had never seen an adult of its own species before. They were tall and graceful, with the same silver-gray skin and large dark eyes. But where Hope radiated peace and curiosity, these Velthrons emanated discipline and wariness. "I am Fleet Commander Kethvar," the largest Velthron said. His voice was deep and commanding. "You claim to be one of us, yet you arrive in a human ship." "Because humans saved my life," Hope replied simply. "When my parents died, they could have left me to die. Instead, they chose compassion." "Lies. Humans know only violence and hatred." Hope stepped closer to the commander, ignoring the weapons pointed at it. "May I show you the truth?" Before anyone could stop it, Hope reached out and gently touched Kethvar's hand. The contact sent a shock through both of them. Suddenly, the Velthron commander experienced Daeho's memories, the moment of finding Hope in the crashed ship. The decision to save an enemy child, despite direct orders. The gentle care, the growing love, the protection offered without expecting anything in return. Kethvar jerked his hand back, his eyes wide with shock. "Impossible. Humans are incapable of such emotions toward our kind." "Are they?" Hope asked softly. Or have we simply refused to see their capacity for good? The child began to share more memories. Dr. Sojin's patient medical care. The station personnel who had risked their careers to keep Hope safe. The final moments when dozens of humans had offered their own precious memories to help Hope understand their true nature. One by one, the other Velthrans in the room experienced these alien emotions. Kindness from their enemies. Love offered, freely to an orphaned child. Sacrifice made not for victory, but for the simple belief that life was precious. "This changes nothing," Kethavar said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Too much blood has been spilled. Too many of our people have died. And how many more will die if we continue?" Hope gestured toward the viewports where Earth hung in space. "Look at that world. Billions of lives. Children who have never hurt anyone. Are we so consumed by grief that we would become the monsters we claim humans are?" Hope began to share the deeper memories stored in its genetic code, the true history of their people, the beautiful homeworld lost to stellar catastrophe, the desperate flight across space, the fear and miscommunication that had started the war. "We were refugees," Hope said sadly. "We came seeking shelter and found only conflict. But that conflict was born from misunderstanding, not malice." Commander Kethavar walked to the viewport, staring at Earth. Hope followed, small hand taking the commander's larger one. "What would you have us do, child? Trust those who have killed so many of our people?" "Trust the ones who saved me," Hope replied. "Give peace a chance. Let me bridge the gap between our fleets. Let both sides see what I have seen." The next hour was the most difficult of Hope's short life. The child reached out with its enhanced abilities, connecting minds across both fleets. Human thoughts touched Velthron consciousness for the first time without hatred or fear as filters. The strain was enormous. Hope's small body trembled with the effort of maintaining communication between hundreds of ships and thousands of minds. But slowly, understanding began to grow. Human officers experienced the grief of Velthron parents who had lost their homeworld. Velthron soldiers felt the terror of human colonists watching their worlds burn. Both sides began to see their enemies, as people with families, hopes, and fears just like their own. But the effort was too much for Hope's developing abilities. The child collapsed on the bridge of the Velthran flagship, its consciousness scattered across too many minds to maintain coherence. "The child is dying." Dr. Sojin's voice crackled over the communication system. She had been monitoring Hope's vital signs from Titan Station. "The neural strain is beyond anything it can handle." Both fleets stopped their preparations for battle. In the silence that followed, something unprecedented happened. Velthron medical officers worked alongside, human doctors to save Hope's life. Ancient enemies combined their knowledge to help the child who had bridged their differences. For 3 days, Hope lay unconscious while the greatest medical minds of 2 species fought to save it. During those 3 days, the fleets remained motionless. Neither side could bring themselves to resume hostilities while the child who had shown them each other's humanity struggled for life. On the 4th day, Hope opened its eyes. The child was different now. Older somehow, marked by the experience of touching so many minds. But the same gentle intelligence remained. "Did it work?" Hope asked weakly. Dai-Ho, who had been transported to the Veltron flagship to stay with. The child smiled through his tears. "Look around you." Hope turned its head to see an impossible sight. Humans and Velthrans worked side by side in the medical bay, former enemies sharing equipment, knowledge, and concern for a single small life. "The fighting has stopped," Commander Kethavar said softly. "Both fleets have agreed to a ceasefire while peace negotiations begin." "And you?" Hope looked at the Velthron commander. "Do you still see humans as monsters?" Kethavar looked at Dai-Ho. who had refused to leave Hope's side during the entire crisis. Any species capable of producing someone who would risk everything to save an enemy's child. No, they are not monsters. They are people, just like us. The peace negotiations took months. There were setbacks, arguments, and moments when war seemed inevitable again. But always, Hope was there to remind both sides of what they had learned about each other. The final agreement established joint colonies where both species could live together. Velthron refugees would be given homes on human worlds, while humans would benefit from advanced Velthron technology and knowledge. Hope, now physically mature but still young in experience, became the first official ambassador between the species. The child who had been saved by an enemy's compassion now worked to ensure that such compassion would define the future. Years later, Deho stood in the garden of the Human Velthron Academy, watching Hope teach a class of mixed students. The lesson was about the importance of understanding before judging, of compassion over fear. "Do you ever regret it?" Dr. Sojin asked, joining him under the shade of an earth oak tree that grew beside a Velthron memory vine. "Saving Hope? Never." Even knowing the price, Hope will never be fully Velthron or fully human, always caught between two worlds. Deho smiled as he watched Hope patiently help a young human student understand a complex Velthron concept. Maybe that's exactly what the universe needed, someone who belongs to both worlds instead of being trapped in one. As the sun set over the academy, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Hope looked up and caught Deho's eye. The being who had once been a helpless infant in a crashed ship now stood tall and confident, surrounded by students from both species who looked to it for guidance. Hope smiled and waved, the same trusting expression that had first captured Deho's heart all those years ago. In that moment, Deho knew that his choice to save one small alien child had been the most important decision of his life. Not just for what it meant to Hope, but for what it meant to the entire galaxy. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the greatest changes in the universe, and sometimes hope is exactly what its name promises it to be.